The Flaming Eggplant is a student and cooperatively run cafe at the Evergreen State College campus. It started in 2008 as a food truck on Red Square and eventually moved into the nearby cab building. Prior to the COVID pandemic shutdown, the Flaming Eggplant became part of a cooperative management program at Evergreen. I interviewed 4 people formerly involved with the Flaming Eggplant to talk about some of its history and the impact the cafe has had. How did you first get introduced to the Flaming Eggplant and cooperatives?
I mean, I feel like I didn't really know anything about co-ops when I first was interested in the eggplant. I was in the eggplant only for like the last 2 quarters of school. The first quarter that I was there was like the first of the like renewal quarters. So it was like a very transitional time.
I really got into the concept of it and started thinking that's what I want to do. So I want to start co-ops, but I also want to take existing co-ops and fix them. I was teaching a summer class at Evergreen on co-op management, and Kayla actually took the class as a staff person. And then that's kind of what led to the overall project. And
I transferred to Evergreen. I was looking for a job, and like a friend I had met worked at the Eggplant while it was still open, recommended I apply since I had like a little bit of like cooking experience and experience kind of like doing democratic decision-making type processes in like social movement kind of contexts. They thought I would be a good fit, so I applied and I got the job. So I was like working at the Eggplant pretty much the whole time I was at Evergreen.
And there's a pretty famous cooperative here in the Bay Area called Cheeseboard. They were hiring, and I had applied for a job there, and then through that basically got introduced to what cooperative business looked like in terms of like a restaurant and food service. I've always worked as a cook or in the food industry, and I have my own aspirations for opening up restaurants and stuff like that too. So when I saw that they were going to start up the Flaming Eggplant again, and it was cooperative business management and food justice mixed in with actual, practice of restarting the Flaming Eggplant, it was just, very much aligned with what I want to do.
So you taught a class in the summer about cooperatives before they started the Flaming Eggplant program. How did all of that go?
a big part of that year was helping people recognize that the ideology part of the co-op is really important and valuable and needs to be really centered, but at the same time, it also has to cover its costs, right? Normally in a co-op, and that's where we start people at, is we start them with the finances and get them to understand the numbers, because that's kind of critical, and I mean, I hate the phrase no margin, no mission, but at the same time, I think that was one of the really bigger benefits. As we got people who might normally not have really cared about the money as much to start really thinking about things like portions and, cost per, hour or sales per, what an average plate would be, and why that's important to them.
How did you feel the Flaming Eggplant Cooperative Education Program went for you?
Yeah, it was definitely felt like a big deal that we had the freedom to make mistakes and learn from them and stuff. Also just to see the dynamic of people feeling so accountable to each other, just a way more legit group project than I'd ever been a part of in school. Yeah, I think at its best, the Eggplant could strike that balance of you're not really in the real world gambling with your livelihood, but there are more bigger feeling consequences to not doing a good job than just doing a research paper by yourself. So I think that's a really awesome stepping stone experience for people to do anything else, especially something similar. One of the best parts was the opportunities that I think mostly Prita set up to go on field trips and visit and connect with other co-ops. Yeah, so I feel the opportunities to connect with those people and learn from their experience and mistakes that they had made or that they had seen other people made was really cool.
It was a long quarter with lots of learning, a lot of practice. I think I got to bring all my experience from being in the food industry into that setting while also learning about business cooperative model, getting trainings from the CDC, the Cooperative Development Center, and then learning the history of the flaming eggplant and what it brought to the campus and what the vision was for reopening it, and then being able to work with all the 15 other members on planning everything from what the floor tiling, chair colors to what our menu is going to be when we reopen, and process and hours and all that stuff, and then creating committees and delegating work between us all. And it was a lot of work. It was a really fun experience. It was very reaffirming that that's the kind of business that I want to do eventually. And then with Prita and Kayla, they were very, very helpful and very knowledgeable, and very much like the historical knowledge that Kayla has with the overall knowledge of cooperativism and food advocacy and justice that Prita has. Yeah, made for a good pair to guide us through that.
How has the flaming eggplant had an impact on Evergreen and the Olympia area?
Cooperative education, especially around co-op management, is, I think, vital. For the eggplant itself, there's kind of a direct lineage in Olympia, right? So members of the eggplant started New Moon. Members of New Moon started the Business Services Co-op. They also started Northwest Construction Co-op. One of the New Moon people helped work with Northwest Co-op Development Center that went to Business Services Co-op. The Northwest Painters Co-op came out of the Northwest Construction Co-op, so they're third generation now. But what this also did was it created a presence in Olympia that co-ops are successful businesses. Olympia with 50,000 people is 10 co-ops, which makes us we're higher than Madison, Wisconsin. We're definitely in the top 5 in terms of cities and straight number of worker co-ops. That's because the flaming eggplant was here to build that foundation and to have that as a place where people could practice on campus. So I think that's vital. It really is a value to the community.
Yeah, it just teaches people so much and has had really tangible impacts on the local business and labor community since it's existed. Lots and lots of worker co-ops and other just interesting food, justice, labor projects have kind of popped up from people who have been affiliated with it. I think it has kind of an outsized impact versus how much the school was valuing it.
Yeah, I mean, I love that the flaming eggplant offered an alternative to Aeromark and the few options on campus. And it was, extremely conscious in terms of what we were feeding people, and people, enjoyed the food and the service and having a space like that. So I think it definitely brings a lot to Evergreen, and it's something that hopefully continues. And it has, a really cool long history there. It could be so successful. And even, there's other colleges up there and in general that have, more of a closed food system between having an organic farm and being surrounded by other farms and having the resources that Olympia has. It could be a system that feeds into itself that great things can be born out of. So hopefully it continues.
How has the flaming eggplant had an impact on your life?
I'm working on an organic biodynamic farm in Colorado. This is my first season here. But something really exciting and relevant that kind of fell into my lap was this farm labor workforce thing that was formed a couple years ago to address the lack of skilled labor for small farms in this area. A couple different nonprofits started it, and they're also working with a cooperative development center here. And their vision for this year is to transition it to be a worker-owned co-op. Yeah, I'm really excited because it felt really similar to the beginning of the eggplant.
And I took a class in the summer with John McNamara from the Co-op Development Center. That was a class all about worker cooperatives, the history and everything. I was doing that, and I took John's class with a couple other people from the eggplant, hoping to improve my co-op management skills. And it was a useful class. And after that, I ended up doing an independent study/internship with John as my supervisor at the Co-op Development Center. And I worked with couple of the people who were working on starting up a home care cooperative in Olympia. I was sort of their intern assistant while I was doing that. After I graduated, I actually ended up getting a job there. And I've worked at the home care co-op for over a year now. Really changed the direction of my academic focus while I was at school. I was originally just going for natural sciences, but while I was at the Eggplant, I got really interested in organizational development and political economy, food justice. So I took a lot of programs and learned things that I probably wouldn't have if I'd never had the chance to work there in the first place. It's the reason I got a BA/BS instead of just a BS.
Looking back, is there anything you think could have worked better for the Fleming Eggplant? What could happen in the future in terms of improvements?
Maybe one of the mistakes early on was, ever treating it as something like a cost center or a profit center, right? It should have always been treated as an academic program. Hopefully it'll come back, and I think it does, especially with some of the new ideas that are being built around the work we're doing with Evergreen on creating these certificate programs and stuff. I think it could be, really a model for the country, right? Of having an actual working co-op that is doing services for students, but is also a learning lab. I can't think of anywhere else that's doing anything like that. I think, even if nothing else, having just a discretionary marketing budget that they could really engage in some good marketing campaigns would be great. And which would also give them real practical experience that they could take even outside of co-ops, right? Just being able to doing messaging and storytelling around something would be really valuable.
Yeah, I feel like we definitely could have used more team building time at the beginning of that renewal process, because there were some people that had worked at the Eggplant for multiple years and other people that were it was their first year at Evergreen. So people were just coming from really different places with really different expectations about the Eggplant itself, as well as just the world, how the world works. So I think it would have been better if there was more recognition for how much we were starting from scratch with our relationships with each other.
Originally, at least partially my idea, and I was really pushing for figuring out how to create a built-in kind of credit academic component for it to support some of the operations. Because from working there, I got the sense that we were all doing a lot of really valuable learning, and we were making an hourly wage, but it was too low for the kind of work that we were doing, and especially on the management side. So I thought, people should at least be getting some kind of recognition for that learning and work, and having a credit component would fit into other stuff about doing more worker co-op business incubation there and securing better funding for it in the future that's more consistent. It's a really great program. I really think it should be more financially supported by the school. So that would be my conclusion, is I think they should keep the, the democratic worker co-op management style, because that's such a valuable learning experience, but they should definitely give it a lot more material support from the administration side.
Can you tell me a little bit about how meaningful the Flaming Eggplant was for you?
I felt like that was kind of my home while I was at Evergreen, my group of people I could go to hang out were the fellow workers there. I thought the group culture was really great and inclusive and creative, and people put in a lot of work to make it happen. I think it was a really supportive work environment. Not having supervisors looking over your shoulder all the time in the kitchen, being able to collaborate and be creative with recipes and decoration, shifts and everything. Just felt like kind of a fun kitchen to go into and just hang out with people. And I liked that we were able to make it kind of a intentionally political space as well. We would use our meetings to do management stuff, but also educate each other on things that we were learning about or think are important. And we could host other clubs and groups meetings or concerts there sometimes.
A lot of things worked really well. We were able, even though we were a group of pretty different people and with very different levels of experience and all of it, we were able, especially with the guidance of Prita and Kayla, to get the basics of what we were doing down so that we can come together and make decisions and lay out a plan for how we were going to get things done. It was really nice to be able to work with my friend and kind of do all the things that the part that we did for the flaming eggplant. It was also really nice. I also helped with like the kitchen operations and meal prepping for the week and doing a lot of planning that way. And I feel like on Mondays when we would do the prepping that was for the week, that group was usually like had a good amount of fun. And it was fun to hear people's stories and be in an environment that was definitely different from my previous kitchen experiences. And definitely a lot more relaxed and fun, and being able to like listen to our own music and make our own rules and stuff like that is definitely wasn't a meaningful experience. I feel like it doesn't have to be such an intense environment.
Is it true that everyone washed dishes while you were there, or did some people not wash dishes?
Everyone washed dishes, yes.
Okay.
Yeah, definitely. I think there was a lot of learning and then also trying to like share tasks, but also playing to people's strengths and not making anything feel like a punishment, but also everyone has to do their part. And the dishes was one of those things that I think and we did lectures, or we remember learning about just in general, just in food service, from the front to the back, and injustices / inequality and stuff like that is a part and deeply ingrained into food service, and who does the dishes and who serves and who is back there cooking, and so trying to make it as the least oppressive state as possible, being conscious of that. So everybody was pretty on board for like, you do the dishes.
I guess I could say something really corny, like, it's the future. It just makes so much sense. And like throughout history, co-ops have always become more important, and more people like start them in the hard times and stuff when people need to get creative about pooling their resources. Obviously, the Eggplant isn't technically a co-op in that way, but it's clearly like set up so many alumni to succeed in that way, and like starting and joining other co-ops. Yeah, I just think it's like super valuable, and it's only gonna get more important and like more relevant in the future.